Hello everybody and welcome back to the Pennsylvania and Berwind Railroad. This is episode number 11. First thing I would like to address, I want to get it out of the way right now while I have all of your attention, is this grid pattern that you're seeing there. This is going to be, I know it already, this is going to be the most asked question in the comment section, so I just want to answer it right now. How did I get the grids to go in the other direction? The answer is, I have absolutely no idea. As far as I understand, what happened was when I ported this map from Trainz 12 into Trainz A New Era, the game replaced some of the faulty textures with this grid. And I don't know if it's a grid that I can pick up and repaint, or if it just kind of like accidentally put the grid down in some weird obscure pattern because I didn't know what else to do. I have no clue, but it's like that. You'll see in just a moment, I did try to pick it up in order to do like a bulk asset replace thing, so I didn't have to repaint all the textures, and it didn't work, so I don't really know what's going on there, but you'll see that from time to time on this map, as well as a blue grid, which I think the blue grid you can actually download and paint on, which I might have done at some point. I don't really remember because it's been so long, but I just wanted to get that out of the way so I don't have to respond to about 5,000 comments that are just asking the exact same question about the grid over and over again. Alright, so what are we doing today? This part of the map I wanted to work on after we did our live stream a couple of Sundays ago where we just ran some trains. This is the area between Old Town and Vonny, and it's an area that is very incomplete, and there's a few reasons for that. One is that the original P&B had sort of a cargo facility over here, which I thought was a little strange because it's supposed to be farmland, and there was like an intermodal facility mixed in, so I removed that when I started rebuilding this map years ago, and I readjusted some of the other stuff too. One of the main things is on the other side, the right-hand side of the screen, is a cattle ranch. So there's livestock trains that go from here all the way out to Highland, which is on the other side of the map, which is a long ways away from getting done. But anyway, that's where the loads of cattle get shipped out to, and this is where they originate from. And it was a little bit, obscure for me to be doing on sort of a modern thing. I didn't really know if it fit. I'm gonna stick with it anyway. But anyway, due to those modifications, I kind of have been kind of keeping away from this area because I just didn't know what to do with it. But after rolling through it with a train a few Sundays ago with you guys, I was like, you know what? This is a huge area that needs tons of work, and I need to address it. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to do for my next episode, so it was kind of fitting that we sat through that together and just marveled in its unfinished unpleasantness. So I did some work on it today. I didn't get as much done as I would have liked. I wanted to do this whole farmland area, both the left-hand side and the right-hand side. All I ended up getting done was this, I guess, left-hand side. I'm referring to it because I kind of keep the same orientation the whole time. And then the right-hand side with the cattle farm. That'll probably be the next episode, so this might be kind of like a two-part episode. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with the results of how this turned out. What we're looking at here, this farm is supplies outbound sugar processing, and I believe the sugar goes also to Highland. Goes to a candy shop, which name is completely slipping my mind. So the outbound loads go out there. There's not a whole lot of freight traffic here, so I kind of wanted this to look a little less used. The original story that Bill wrote about this section of track is that the track extends beyond this facility and into the woods, and goes into, well, it's abandoned track, goes into another abandoned town. I kind of left that out, I guess. Maybe I can add it in later on. I wasn't really too sure because I really wanted to just have like a big farm. And here you can see I was trying to do some texturing, and then I remembered that I can actually copy and paste the texturing. So that's a good thing to remember to do if you need to just get some basic texturing down and you've got it done someplace. You can just copy the textures and then paste it into a new area, and you can rotate it and whatever. So it's a good way to cover a whole lot of ground without having to use one texture and the paintbrush and all that. But anyway, so I was trying to get this kind of old farm look. I believe the story that Bill wrote goes something along the lines of A lot more of the traffic is done through trucking than through freight these days. So maybe there's 1 or 2 outbound loads, maybe a week or every 2 weeks or something along those lines. I have to consult the paperwork, but it's a very infrequently used spur. So I wanted to make sure that I included an area that some box trucks could park, maybe 1 or 2 of these 54-foot trailers or 58-foot trailers, whatever size they are, and still look like a farm out in the middle of nowhere. And the look is pretty good so far, I gotta say. I do like it, and I'm starting to sprinkle in some more of these speed trees. And I think I'm kind of starting to figure out the nomenclature that whoever the creator was came up with, like ST underscore BERG underscore something something underscore 28 meters. So I'm kind of starting to decode that. If anybody actually knows what the actual nomenclature stands for, please leave it in the comment, because it would make sorting some of this stuff out a little bit easier. But yeah, I've been mixing those in with the billboard trees, using the billboard trees as filler and the speed trees as sort of foreground elements, and I really like the look of how it's coming along. So we'll take a look at that in the live mode at the end of this. But I've definitely been liking how that looks. And now right along to the right-hand side where I was just laying down there is just a sort of a off-road storage area for the farmers to park their John Deere tractors and whatever other loads of stuff, whatever kind of things that they don't necessarily need all the time. They can just kind of leave it off. I often see that at a lot of farms, is that there's usually just a dirt road going somewhere and then maybe a little pull-off patch where there's just a random tractor stopped, or a flatbed with some farm stuff on it. So I wanted to include that in here, and I kind of added a little bit as we work our way through. These dirt roads here from Jointed Rail, they are very, very nice. I think this is the first time, aside from the needles, this is the first time I've used them with a lot of success. They blend in very nicely with the textures that I've been using, and they definitely have a very worn down, dusty, dirty look, which I really, really like. And you can adjust the height too, so you can bury it in the ground a little bit and get kind of pieces that stick up and pieces that are underground. It's not just a flat spline texture, so you can adjust the height and have some fun with that. One thing I want to point out that I'm doing right here actually is I'm trying to find some new scenery vegetation. I've been using the same stuff over and over again, and I wanted to add a little bit of variety to it, so I'm kind of looking through the other JVC grasses and stuff that I have that I just never use because I don't know, I just never took the time to look at it and figure out where I can use it. So I'm trying to work in some new textures, try some different stuff as I go along. I didn't want to overdo it too much in this area. Like, I use a lot of grass textures and a lot of shrubs, but I also tried to keep it just regular ground paint texture. I didn't want to overdo it with the grasses because that can really just have an impact on frame rates. And especially now that I'm using more speed trees and stuff like that, I wanted to make sure that I kept the polygon counts or whatever, on the lower end. So when I do release it, I don't have too many people complaining about issues with that sort of thing. And through here, what I'm doing is adding some of these speed trees along the sides of the roads. One thing that I always notice along farms is you'll see intentionally planted trees, and they weren't planted recently. These were probably planted hundreds of years ago. They're huge, enormous oak trees, and you'll always see them kind of lining a dirt road going out to the farm or going up to a farmhouse or something like that. So that's a little detail that I wanted to include there, and it definitely looks like pretty legitimate. I can't necessarily cite specific instances where I've seen it, but I have seen it along quite a number of farms. And of course, I'm bringing in some of the power lines here as well, just to add a little bit more visual noise. That's the key to getting a really nicely detailed scene, is just adding I just call it visual noise. It's stuff like power lines and the garbage and, things that day to day you just kind of don't pay attention to. So going through here, I'm doing a little bit of ground texturing, trying to blend in some of this dirt with tilled soil and grass and stuff like that. It actually gets a little bit tricky trying to blend all that together. And this big tree here, we're going to come back to that in a few moments, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what my idea was that. So we will revisit that in the future in just a moment. And then just continuing to work my way down the track, down the main line, putting up some barbed wire fences, adding the power lines, some grasses. What I like to do is, because these grass patches are so big, you don't want them to float along the side of a fill. So I've been kind of putting them on the edge and then using the asset height tool to sort of half bury them in the ground. And they're not really buried because they're still sticking out, but it's just because they don't conform to the height of the terrain. So you have to adjust it, otherwise you're gonna end up with floating grass and stuff like that, and that just looks like crap. So I didn't want any of that because it just doesn't look good. Trying to do a little bit of copying and pasting here, just to save myself some time. This build actually didn't take too long. I think I put about 2.5 to 3 hours into this build. I did a little tiny bit off camera, but I think what you're looking at is about 2.5 to 3 hours worth of footage compressed into this time lapse here. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to build. It was relaxing, so to speak, not having to do some big industrial complex or something like that, and just be able to kick back and just do a nice scenic sort of thing. Now for this area that I'm doing here, I'm not really sure if I fully know the answer to this, but what I think this is, and I see it on a lot of farms, I think this is part of an irrigation system. So you'll see a lot of times, especially if you're, flying in a plane, if you look at a farm, it's usually divided into a grid or some kind of weird grid type shape. It's divided somehow. And I think a lot of times that dividing line, if it's not a road, is some kind of an irrigation system. It's probably some kind of a ditch with a stream, and maybe they pump water into it. I'm not too sure. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But you'll usually see a lot of vegetation growing along that, which is also what leads me to believe that it's probably some kind of an irrigation system. So I try to add this on my farms. I have another farm just outside of Old Town that I did the same sort of thing to along the perimeter. And it just helps divide the scene a little bit more too. It's a nice visual division, and it breaks up the sameness when you have like a big long farm. It breaks the look up, so it's not just one big continuous mass of crops. And also it gives you the option of doing different types of crops. So you'll see in just a moment, I textured the one side of the field with this darker texture. On the other side, I do a texture. I get rid of the bright green one that's there right now. So I texture it with something else. But it gives you the option to do like different crops. If I wanted to actually do crop splines, I could do that, but those tend to be a little bit impactful on your frame rates for big areas. So I thought I'd keep it kind of on the small side. Just, maybe they're growing alfalfa or lettuce or something that's not too tall. It's not a big cornfield or anything like that. But again, here I'm just moving around some of the scenery assets to give that look that maybe there's some kind of a ditch there that has a lot of water, a lot of nutrition. And I think that the look was achieved. Here we're putting down some more of the farmland. This one is a little bit more raw. I guess I never really picked a time of year for the P&B. It's obviously summertime, but I never said to myself, oh, it's August, or it's June, or it's April, or whatever. So I don't really know what season the crops would be in. I guess judging by the way that my fields are, maybe it's early summertime. Which I guess kind of goes with the bright green look of the trees and stuff like that. Doing some of the ground texturing here. These textures that I've picked out are pretty good for blending together, blending with the farmland, blending with each other, the dirt. I believe that the one is Merva 16. Those Merva textures are pretty good. And now we come over to this tree. So my theory with this tree, at least where I grew up in a lot of farmlands, and you just see like endless farms for miles, and every once in a while there's just this big old ancient oak tree or willow tree or something like that, just like right out in the middle of a cornfield or whatever kind of crop field it is. It's just a lonely tree all by itself, maybe with some other vegetation growing around it. My theory is that it's there to provide some kind of a habitat for birds of prey, maybe hawks or owls, things that are gonna catch vermin in the fields like mice and maybe other bugs and stuff like that. So I think that's what that's for. That's what I'm imagining it for, but I wanted to include that in this scene because It is very classic of what I've seen in the Northeast, and I would imagine that it probably applies to most places, but this is a northeastern themed route, so if that's what I've seen up in the Northeast, then that's gonna be what fits. One other asset that I was looking for when I was doing that, the irrigation area, is a stone wall. And I'm not talking about like a stone wall, like a cement wall or something like that. Where I grew up, a lot of the farmers would pile up rocks from like local stream beds, and so there would be like lots of round stream rocks, and they would just be piled up for miles, and that's what they used to mark their property lines. So that's what I was looking for, was some kind of like a rock pile spline, and I couldn't find it. So if you guys know of one, let me know. I couldn't seem to find it. All I found was like standard issue like rock walls. But if you know of like a rock pile sort of, thing, be sure to let me know, because I would definitely like to incorporate that in here. You see it all over the Northeast. I see it all the time. Have it on some of my property up in the Catskills. It would be nice to add that in. If not, maybe I'll try to make it. But I think this is coming up to the end of the time lapse. This is a great scene. We will take another look at it in live mode. I'm gonna let the time lapse run out, and I will meet up with you in just a moment. Now, how about that view? That is just absolute Catskills right there. New England, Northeastern, perfect spitting image of dirt road, road less traveled, with a couple of broken down barns on a farm with rolling plains through the Catskills. I love it. I think this came out really, really nice. I love the look of the speed trees. I thought that I would hate them, but these ones are just really, really nice. So this scene, honestly, this has got to be one of my favorite scenes so far, even though it is so simple. It's simple, it's elegant, it's classic, it's clean. I love it. It's clean and dirty at the same time. So I really, really like the way that this looked. I love these trees right here on the left, and the one down here by the farm, or by the barn, the beat up barn. I think this would be a really nice winter scene as well, and fall, year round. This would just be an absolutely awesome, cool scene all year round. And then right over here we've got the railroad tracks, and I think that it is just marvelous. I love the way that it looks. We can take a look from the air, and it does feel like the real deal. So I really like that. So here's the irrigation path here. I did add this windmill, probably not in the right spot. I will move it some other place if it seems bothersome. I do need to kind of wrap up the back side here, but like I said, I ran out of time to do this episode. I'm putting a limit on myself now at how much time I'm allowing myself to actually record an episode. So that way I'm not just recording forever until, a build is done, because if that was the case, I had my heart set on getting both sides of the tracks done here. Oh, we gotta zoom in. That's right. And if I just let myself keep recording until that was done, I wouldn't have time to edit it, and I wouldn't be able to get a video out this week. So I really want to try getting videos out once a week again. So I'm gonna put some time limits on myself for how long I can record for, and then I'm just gonna stop. And the next video will be picking up where the last one left off, and we'll just kind of do it like that and see how that works. Again, here's this other scene here, which I think this just looks really great. Like, once this area off to the right is finished, this is gonna look like a legit farm. Like, this is pretty cool. Again, I like it in its simplicity. I tried not to overdo it with too much grass, although there is still a lot of it. I've been trying to be a little bit more conservative, because I really don't want to kill people's frame rates. And I don't want to kill my own, because right now I'm barely getting 30 frames. And that is while recording, but it does tend to complicate things. Here we have our nice little warehouse, which I think is a nice touch. Again, very simple. I tried not to go crazy with any garbage and debris and stuff like that. Just want to keep it simple. This farmer, these guys have everything together. They are not messy people. I also went ahead in between the recording and now, and updated the track with the 100-pound jointed rail track. I believe, is this the one? Yeah, 100. I am gonna see if maybe I can get the ballast color changed, because it is a little bit pink to my eyes. I would like it to match this gray ballast, so I might ask whoever made the track, I think it was Mike at Jointed Rail, if either I can try to retexture it, or if he would be willing to do it, or if somebody else would be willing to do it. Because it would be nice to have a little bit more of this bright granite grayish sort of color rather than this little bit of pink that I see in there. It's not too bad. I mean, it doesn't bother me too much, but I like the gray look better. I'm used to seeing gray up in the Catskills because that's the type of rocks that are up this way. I don't know if it's granite or if it's, I don't know what it is. I don't know what kind of rock it is. I'm not a geologist. Yeah, so I'll see about that. Here's the old track, which I am going to miss. I do like the overly rustiness. But again, as we discussed during a live stream a few weeks ago, it is not, I don't even think it's an American style. These bolts are not indicative of American trackage as these ones are. One thing that I did like about this jointed rail track, aside from its insane amount of detail, I like the joint bars. And you can even, if you really wanted to, you could see the, let's see if we can get in there. There's writing on there that has the weight of the rail, which I think is a really neat detail. You can see it right here, a little bit 100 RECC Beth 1932. So I think that's a pretty neat little detail to have in there, especially being a Pennsylvania route. And I like the tie spacing and everything like that. So I'm going to slowly be replacing all of this track throughout the route. And I mean slowly because I might change my mind again. So I'm kind of doing it by section, like I didn't do it over here. The other problem with this track that I'm having is that the default height is kind of like buried. So if I look at it here, that's the default height. I had to raise it up so that the ballast was a little bit higher. So you can take a look and see if I do, if I bring it up just a little tiny bit, that's about where I would like it. Just to have a nice clean ballast line, a little bit raised up. And we're on a grade here, so that's not going to work. So that's just a little bit higher than the sub road bed. I would like it even higher still if I could, but I think there is a terrain version, but I don't, I'm not going to go too crazy. But the fact of the matter is that I have to do this manually every section that I relay. I have to adjust the height so that it's standing up just a little tiny bit. And again, over here, I don't know if anybody noticed it, but this is a grade up, which is a nice little touch. The original P&B, it was a very sharp grade going up to this. I wanted to maintain some kind of a grade here because I think that's really cool. It adds a visual difference, especially when you're switching cars, to have some sections of track a little bit higher than others. Keeps things interesting visually, and it's just so subtle and smooth, and it looks pretty neat. I'm kind of excited to switch some cars out and see how it all comes together. Do have a little bit more work to do back here and just kind of like tie the whole scene together. But it's coming along pretty nicely. I gotta say, I am quite pleased with it. Again, if you're wondering, these speed trees, this is it. STRMM BUK 13994 20 meter. KUID is in the bottom right hand corner there. And I have that on all of my videos. So that's that. I don't have anything else special that I want to do to wrap up this episode. The next episode, I'm going to focus on this side over here. Oh, look at this. These guys are floating. I didn't realize. That's okay. When I stretched them out, I just kind of tossed them there. Let's see if I can I get it? Negative. There we go. I will come through and do the, clean this up. Obviously this was supposed to be part of this video, but it just didn't happen. If you have any ideas for the cattle loading pen situation, I'm not totally against redoing this track. It is a little bit sharp for my liking, so I might smoothen it out a little tiny bit. But if you have any pictures or anything like that of actual cattle, whatever, pens and whatever this would be called, cattle loading, railcar loading things, tweet them at me or snap them at me or email them to me or leave me a link in the comments below, so I can have something to reference, because otherwise it's probably going to be a pretty similar look to this, because this is not something I'm too familiar with. But yep, we will go and get this area kind of put together, and ever so slowly we will connect this up with Vonny, which is right down here. Vonny is looking pretty good. We were looking at that in the last live stream. So that was a lot of fun too, by the way, guys. It was a really long time since I've operated on the P&B at all. So it was really cool to hang out with you guys. A lot of you showed up. I think we had at peak like 86 viewers hanging out. So it was a lot of fun to just hang out and run some trains and chat for a little bit. If you guys missed that last stream, I do stream occasionally every couple of weeks or every week. I don't know. I'm not on a schedule. It's usually Sunday nights, though. Seem to be what is working best for me. I'm going to try to do a Saturday morning at some point for you morning people and for you European people, because I know you're out there. But that will be, that's going to do it for this episode. Leave a comment and all that below. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and all those cool things. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.